I was talking about aging and LeBron James being the oldest player in the sport, being impatient. All the competitive young people are coming now, right? Like he's the oldest guy in the sport. He's dominated it for 20 years. He's given his feet to the cause, exceeded every expectation somehow, and Skip Bayless is still chasing him. Like still tweets last night, "You're 17 and 18, Bron. You lost to a high school algebra teacher." That's how it will end for LeBron after being the most relevant at the hardest thing, most competitive thing in sports. Here come the Heat with their young people and the Timberwolves and OKC. And
again, the IST buying him nothing.
Nothing. And they're 17 and 18, and the Warriors are now vulnerable and aging. And what I was going to say to you about Klay Thompson is this part's rare, right? If we can stop for a moment and just celebrate greatness in sports. The Warriors were a dynastic thing. They fought at the top of that with LeBron, and sometimes they won and LeBron won, and they had to do different ownership architecture on how much power players will have so that Kevin Durant and LeBron James, this could be the hardening of our lifetime in this sport over the last 10 years. Them wrestling for the top of this sport. Klay Thompson now realizes, and this feels like concession to me, okay? I was surprised earlier last week when I said to Amin, yeah, the Warriors are done. And he's like, And I think he was doing that just out of respect for it's really hard to be a champion like that for 10 years. Wait till Draymond gets back. No, they're done. Klay Thompson, they needed him to be the best two-way player in the world in order to win championships, and he's washed. And I don't know what's happened to my algorithm. I don't know if I got whitlocked. But I get so much Klay Thompson information. I get tons and tons of Klay Thompson stuff. I don't know why. More than almost any other athlete. Now, I really like him. I find him quirky. I think he's one of the best shooters I've ever seen. I've admired his game and his surfer kind of stony way of being around Steph and Draymond and also being great. At one point, he could have been traded for Kevin Love in Minnesota. His career would have gone differently. But he settled into superstardom, Hall of Famer, probably should be a top 75 player, gets hurt when you tell him he's not a top 75 player. Here's Klay Thompson talking in uncommon terms for a champion, talking to Steve Kerr, also a champion, about yeah, I'm kind of washed at work, and I'm negative about it because I'm super competitive, and here's where I am in life when we're not quite good enough right now.
Well, Steve and I had actually a great conversation yesterday, and that helped me relax a lot. Sometimes I forget just how successful and how lucky I've been to be a part of championship teams and all-star games and gold medals. And when you want to get back to that level so badly, you can kind of get in your own way. And rather than forcing it, we had a conversation about just enjoying this last chapter of my career and how lucky I truly am to still be playing this game and do it at a high level and being a better mentor for these young guys, leading by example and having my energy right every game. And he helped me realize when I do have negative energy, how that affects the team in a poor manner. So we had a great conversation. That just helped me change my whole mindset and forget about shooting splits or points per game or all-star games, and just to enjoy being in this Warriors uniform and appreciate what we built, because it's such a rare opportunity for any professional athlete to be a part of so much success and to try and pass that torch to the younger guys and keep this thing going.
He's a great champion. He's a lot younger than LeBron James. LeBron James beat that out of him, trying to keep up with LeBron James. And injury, right? His body betrayed him in a way LeBron's
playing lots of minutes in deep postseason runs, ultimately facing LeBron James. So, yeah, kind of indirectly so. But that was really honest and revealing sound there.
It's not only vulnerable and interesting, though. I ask you just for a moment, right? I get it. Sports move fast. You got to have your takes. We're more engaged than we ever are. Criticism is everywhere. Blame is everywhere. This guy is a great champion, fighting LeBron James across this decade for the top of that sport. Do you know what it is for Charles Barkley to say in a series that involves LeBron James that Klay Thompson is the best two-way player in the world? That's what Klay got being at the center of that champion. But then money, glory, fame, who gets the touches, makes Draymond Green be what he is right now and punch Jordan Poole in an argument about money because everybody wants to get paid now. And Klay Thompson built an economy in that city with a stadium that makes that organization, quote unquote, light years ahead of everyone else because they've got such a thriving business that's actually at the center of an economy in a city. Klay Thompson built that. He wants his money. And sometimes when you're chasing championships, you forget the joy along the path. You punch your teammate because staying up there is hard. It's super competitive. It seems to make Kevin Durant unhappy. He fled that whole thing. It got so hot in that furnace, and I thought winning would be fun forever. How would you not be there and be like, yeah, I'm Kevin Durant. I'll play with Steph. We will dominate. No, too much. Klay fit there. Klay saved them one time against OKC with a third quarter making shots from half court. But now it's the end, and he knows it. And athletes never look in a mirror like that at 33. Your coach and your organization have to be so strong for you to be the one who doesn't get the money at the end, isn't going to get the minutes, isn't going to get the touches. You're going to be the odd man out in musical chairs. Everyone else there is going to get their payments. You could have gone to the Lakers. You could have played with LeBron. But his body broke. And now at the end, he's like, yeah, why would I bring negative energy in here? This is kind of, he says the last chapter. What is he, 5 years younger than LeBron? LeBron's 39, and Klay's telling you there, I'm done. Like, I'm going to keep trying, but what I'm going to do now is I'm going to hand the mantle over to Wiggins and whoever else, all these young players on that team. I mean, Wiggins also got paid. Like, everyone got their money. Did Klay get? I know this stuff is silly, right? It's tens of millions of dollars. But Klay's going to lose the musical chairs there, right? The ending for Klay isn't going to be you get your big contract and get to play another 4 years.
It sounds like, in coding it as the loser there, you're lacking the perspective that I think Klay Thompson showed there, because Klay Thompson won. He's ultimate winner. I mean, one of the greatest shooters of all time, would arguably be called that if he didn't share the same backcourt with the greatest shooter of all time. So he won. He's a historic winner.
He also made $43 million this year.
Yep.
Like he signed a 5-year, $189 million contract. Like, that's
he got
huge.
one huge contract there that, I mean, obviously making $43 million this year to, based off of what he's saying, essentially in some ways play the role that like Udonis Haslem was playing before he literally played 0 minutes, when Haslem was playing like 8 to 10 minutes a night and mentoring guys. But it'll be interesting to see with Klay Thompson whether or not he's willing to just hang it up because he's no longer getting a huge contract somewhere and just would want to play with the Warriors, or whether he'll try to find new life as a guy that probably gets a veteran's minimum or a couple of years at $20 million or something like that with a team that is trying to take that next leap or is always competitive.
Do you ever hear the 33-year-old guy like Cam Newton at the end of his career, obviously different sport, but at the end of his career is still fighting to tell you, no, I can do this for the Patriots. This isn't my body being done. This isn't me spent at 32, 33. Do you get, in the modern age of Tom Brady and LeBron James, isn't one of the things that's refreshing about that vulnerability that he's looking in the mirror and telling you, I don't have much left here?
One of the most interesting comparisons you can make now is actually Kevin Love, who was involved in all of those finals too. He got to a point with Cleveland where he wasn't playing on that team. He wasn't playing any minutes. And he was just sort of the veteran guy who was there adding to those young guys who now have turned themselves into a better team alongside other young players they've added. But he essentially just left Cleveland for nothing and now has had new life, breathed into him with the Miami Heat, playing a role there. Klay Thompson may try to do the same sort of thing where he's in this leadership role on a team where now it doesn't make any sense for him to not be playing the same type of role he's been used to, but with a different franchise at some point, maybe he can get a few more years as a role player contributor somewhere else.
Dan, I'm interested to see your thoughts here. Like, if Kerr wasn't his coach, do you think he would be talking this open and honestly about his struggles?
I don't know the answer to that question. I know that Kerr seems to care about these people in a way that extends beyond just employee-employment relationships. He was a player that knows how hard it was to be a champion because he lived all of this with Michael Jordan. I would think that Klay, having grown up some in the sport around Steve Kerr and everything that he is, like grown up, because some of these guys can be overgrown children. If you're that good at shooting, something else is lopsided and hasn't been tended to. They can be kids And Steve Kerr can be in that role, disciplinarian, teacher, professional father. You know, I don't know if Mark Jackson was that to those guys before that when he was telling us that they had the greatest shooting backcourt of all time. But I would imagine that Steve Kerr, who doesn't mind DJs at practice, even though he's yelling about T-shirt cannons and noise, Steve Kerr wants a player-friendly atmosphere. I would imagine that Klay Thompson bringing negative energy to work is something that he would notice and then just tell him, hey, like you're super, like I don't need you to be super sad guy. How you helping me? It could be as simple as the perspective that Mike's giving there was like, how about we do joy while we're living joy as opposed to the pressure of the next competition that you have to win that keeps you from joy? Like, how about we accept who we are at this point with some self-awareness in our career?
Yeah, and you saw the type of energy that he brought to the press conference post that conversation with Steve Kerr. So I can
What did
only
it look like before?
Yeah, I can only imagine what negative energy Klay might have been like.
But can you imagine if you've been that great and the other guys that, I mean, Steph's older than him. Like, you're looking around and your body cannot do what it did. LeBron's still out there doing it with gnarled feet and stuff. And Klay has to look at his body, and however he self-identifies for the 30 years of his life that have brought him all the rewards, and be like, oh, this shit betrayed me. This betrays me at the end. This was best two-way player in that league. And now it doesn't work the same way anymore. And now I've got to live the rest of my life with the grief of who I used to be as an identity. That's a hard shit to like see in a mirror at 33. But Steve Kerr probably lives something similar toward the end of his career next to Jordan. That would be helpful.
Or you can evolve into what Ray Allen was down the stretch. Yeah. Just be the guy that nails big-time threes and be a role player. I mean, Jason Kidd was one of the greatest point guards ever, made plenty of contributions towards the end of his career, won a championship. There's a great lane for that, and it's quite rewarding.
You say that, though, but Carmelo didn't want to do it, and he was a lot older than Klay. Klay's young for this conversation.